Hi, I'm Holly, and I'm a relatively new Star Wars fan. In April of 2020, I bought my first two Star Wars sets, that being Obi-Wan's Hut and Jewel on Mustafar, and since then, I fell into a sort of spiral. I mean, I've sort of been a bit good since then. I didn't buy too many sets last year immediately. I've been waiting for sales and all of that. But I've accidentally stumbled into clone army building, which is not good for anyone. Now, army building is something that I'd heard relatively briefly about before actually joining the Lego Star Wars sort of group and community. I just liked the idea of having tons of stormtroopers around and thought, that would honestly be pretty cool. And by tons back then, I thought maybe 6 would do, and then lo and behold, I end up in the Lego Star Wars community and I just sort of go down this spiral and learn that people have giant armies consisting of thousands of minifigures with the monetary value costing even more than that, and it was just ridiculous, and somehow I accidentally did that myself, but on a much smaller and niche scale. So today I not only wanted to just show you guys my tiny clone army, but I wanted to teach you the rules and the basics that I've learnt of clone army building in my time in the Star Wars community, as brief as it is, but also how to do it on a relatively small budget, because I'm not out here spending hundreds of dollars on clone packs. Now, back in August of 2020, a certain set under the set number of 75280 released, and it was a giant craze. Everyone and their dog was trying to find this set. Honestly, it just caused madness. It was chaotic. Now, for any of you more casual Lego fans, you may be asking yourselves why, and I honestly had the same reaction. Turns out it was a giant community thing for so long. It was a borderline campaign that ended up in borderline harassment by some commenters. It was kind of odd, honestly. Now, because I was really invested in the community and I just learnt this entire backstory, I really wanted to pick myself up one. I was a really big Star Wars fan. Not that I'd really seen the Clone Wars, and to this day still have not finished the arc that the 501st Troopers are actually in, but nevertheless, I wanted to go and find one. So I joined in the early set hunt, which proved to be incredibly difficult because the 501st Clone Legion Troopers didn't actually come out on time in Australia. In fact, they sold out online in seconds, and then when they did show up in stores, I was frantically trying to call to get through to the store, but I ended up buying one, and I vlogged the entire process. It was a whole thing, so much so that I made an entire video dedicated to it. Chances are you've seen it because for some reason it has lots of views. And that was the first ever army building set that I'd ever bought, and then because it was so scarce and I liked the idea of having multiple clones and stacking them against each other, I ended up buying a second, and then 2 turned into 3, and then 3 turned into 4, and then somehow I've ended up with 6 or 7 at this point. But since I bought that first clone pack, I learnt a lot about the basics of army building. Turns out there's a pretty particular structure, and then when you make videos on your clone armies, again, there's a very particular structure and some very sneaky camera angles used in order to make it look like there are more clones than there actually are, which in my defense, I just photoshopped them to make it look like there were more than there actually are. Honestly, a lot easier. So because of this accidental journey that I found myself on, I thought today we would all take a class in how to build a clone army, but specifically for beginners and broke bitches. Okay, I mean, I probably shouldn't say that. So broke bros, how does that sound? So introducing our lecturer, me from a couple of days ago. Okay class, gather round. Today we are going to be learning the basics of building a clone army. Now, from what I've learned from my time online, the only way to become a true Star Wars fan is by building a coveted clone army. Now, a lot of these clone armies use some sneaky angles and some smart photography techniques in order to make it look like their army is bigger than it actually is. Or in my case as well, you could always Photoshop your clone army, however, we are upgrading to real life today. Because why would you waste your money on old retired sets when really the only way to gather any sort of clout in the Lego Star Wars community is by having a clone army? I don't care about your sealed Jabba's palace, it means nothing to me. I honestly couldn't care less, because all that really matters is how many clones you have, how many different battalion troops have you got, do you have a Phase 2 Cody? What about Captain Rex? Do you have him? That 332nd Trooper from the AAT, how many of those do you have? Because, those are quite expensive. I mean, Because just like Anakin, our goal is to achieve the rank of master, but in order to do that, you have to have some clones in order to support you in your quest to the top. Now, before we begin, has anyone not heard of the term battle pack? Does everyone know what it is? Are we all good in that regard? Yep, at the back. Yeah, I don't know what a battle pack is. Like, is it just like a regular Star Wars set, or does it supposed to have like specific features? Like, what exactly are we supposed to be looking for here? Okay, you must be new. So basically, a battle pack is any sort of set that contains a hefty amount of characters. Specifically, there is a line of sets with battle pack in the name. However, since the 501st Clone Legion is essentially a 501st battle pack, despite not having it in the name and being a more expensive version of the set, the community still regards it as a battle pack due to the fact that it contains a hefty amount of clones. That being 1 Jet Trooper and 3 501st Clone Troopers. This one also did contain 2 battle droids, which sort of makes it more of a set than a battle pack. However, you can still buy multiples of these and build your army, as well as having a range of vehicles, therefore making it a battle pack. The Dark Troopers, I also technically count it as a battle pack, considering you get 3 Dark Troopers and 1 named character. Just like this type of set though, you do get more of a substantial build. It's also around the same price range. Not really a battle pack, but technically a battle pack, and we're on the same page. Now, the first step in order to create a clone army, no matter what budget you're on, I've really learned actually has nothing to do with battle packs or clones or just any sort of troopers at all. It honestly comes down to the base plate, because you need somewhere to put your clone army. Now, the easiest option to achieve this is honestly just going to be the classic white base plate that you can pick up at most stores, including the Lego store. It's very simple. The white as well will kind of blend in nicely with your clone troopers. I mean, it's not going to make them stand out and be any sort of accent, but at least it's a good size. You can put enough minifigures on it to feel like you've got an army, but there's also enough space to make you want to spend more money on your army. So in that way, I feel like it's quite good. However, for us broke bros, we're gonna need a bit of a smaller one, because we don't want to spend the money to have a full army. If you want to pretend that you're someone who likes to build like really big Star Wars mocks and go to conventions, or just have like a giant Star Wars collection, you could also go for this base plate, the giant grey one. However, like I said, we are building on a budget here. We don't want to fill this up, because then we're going to want to spend more money that we don't have. So just like our sealed Star Wars sets, that's going in the bin, thank you. Now, secondly, the next best thing to do is buy a bunch of sets that you really didn't want to buy multiples of. Now, usually this will become really handy if you've got a spending problem or a Lego addiction, or maybe you just walk into the Lego store one too many times and just have the urge to buy something and assert your dominance with the employees and show that you're not a casual fan. In fact, you are a diehard fan who follows a lot of content on the internet, or maybe you just got bored and want something to build that day. I don't care what it is, but either way, you've got to buy multiples of different sets, especially when the product limit's 1. If you really want to go the extra mile, go every day to the Lego store, prove that you are a Lego fan, and go constantly. I don't care if you're 5 minutes away or 4 hours away. That's how you prove you're a really big Lego Star Wars fan. It's a fact. That's why, especially in these day and age, if you do have a clone army, it really shows, because it just shows that you have gone that extra mile to obtain a variety of sets. Personally, I've capped out at 4 right now. However, I did walk into the Lego store today and have the urge to buy more. Why? I don't know. There's just something about Australian stores not having a product limit and seeing all of these figures just stacked next to each other on a base plate that it fills you with this urge, and I can't explain it. Just it happens, okay? Do I need these? No. Did I end up with 4 of them either way? Yes. Will I probably buy more? Maybe. But these packs are expensive. This is 100 Australian dollars worth of Lego, and I've got nothing to show for it. Depending on your location, the cheaper, easier, and probably more community-driven alternative is to collect 501st Troopers. Now, I've had a pretty interesting journey with the 501st Troopers in Australia. These had a very, very limited and hard-to-find release, so the fact that I ended up with 4 open ones and 3 sealed ones is a bit ridiculous to me. The only reason I have multiple is because I've been fortunate enough to travel overseas, and for some reason thought that using my suitcase luggage space for 501st battle packs was a good idea. These are also the clones that helped cause Order 66, which is either a cool thing or a bad thing, depending on which characters are your favorite. In this case, mine are Grogu and Anakin, so we're at a bit of a crossroads here. I don't know whether to open all of these and buy tons of them and have like a giant army, or whether to burn them all for what they did to Grogu. So for the moment, we're gonna go with army building. We'll see how we go. These are also retiring at the end of the year, so if you're interested in building a clone army, you should probably do that, or if you're an M&R Productions simp, you could do that too. The next one for sale is the Hoth Trooper pack. However, I wouldn't really call this sort of in the same ballpark. I mean, concept-wise, it's the same, but since the characters, you can all see their faces, I don't think it works quite as well for like army building. You'd probably have to grab a bunch of different faces and swap it out, or at least I would want to do that. I don't want everyone looking the same, which is why personally I would go for troopers with helmets, just so that everyone can look the exact same, and it doesn't matter because they're all exactly supposed to look the exact same. That's the whole point. So personally, in my tiny army building, I'm not even gonna bother with them. Snowtroopers, however, oh, I'm going in real deep. Not only is the price point extremely appealing on these, even though the price did unfortunately go up, the fact that I can buy enough of these to fill up the entire UCS AT-AT, which I currently don't own, is really appealing to me. Why? I don't own that set. Why is this appealing to me? Well, maybe one day I'll buy it. I hope to. Then again, 1,300 Australian dollars is a lot to spend on a Lego set. So in the meantime, I'm just going to buy a bunch of the tiny small sets, considering that AT-AT is going to last on shelves for a really long time. So I guess it's a win. You also get a speeder bike to stick on the AT-AT. These are pretty neat. They're small. For some reason, they're constantly in stock in store, despite being sold out online, which currently really doesn't make any sense. I'm also pretty sure that they relaxed the product limit on these, unlike the clone troopers, so it's a lot easier to build your army all at once. Currently, I've got 2 of them. Someday I'll end up with like 12 to 14. We don't know. I can't actually remember how many I need to fill up the AT-AT. We'll get back to that. So by following all these steps, I mean, usually you would start off with one set and then one slowly turns into 2, or rapidly if you're me, and then eventually you'll have a bunch of figures that you really have no clue what to deal with because you're already struggling for space with the amount of Lego that you own, but figure look pretty altogether. So you just keep going. Because why would anyone want to buy just one Lego Star Wars set when you can have multiple? I don't need any of the pieces. All I want are the figures, but it's so much cheaper just buying the sets than buying the figures off Bricklink because, you know, Bricklink resellers are trying to make a profit, rightfully so. I mean, why wouldn't you want to make a profit off these things? Because why wouldn't I want a bunch of clone troopers that can double as a pilot? I mean, how many pilots do I need? Lots of them apparently, and that's why Lego was kind enough to include them in such a cheap, overpriced set. So once you have completed your clone trooper, all you need to do is place him on a base plate. I would go with one stud on the side just so that you can fill it up a tiny bit easier, or maybe even if you want it to look like you have an even bigger collection than you actually do, I would leave a 1 stud gap at the front and 2 studs on the side so that no one can stand next to him. It's perfect. So now that we have our clones on the base plate, the next thing that you would want to do, class, is make sure that we combine all of our different army types onto one base plate. You don't want to separate them because then it makes it look like you have a tiny army, which we do, but we don't want to admit that to people, okay? So you've got to stick them side by side. I know this is a lot of rules to follow. I didn't make them up. I'm just enforcing the rules. Like this is the way, okay? So to check on our progress, currently we have our base plate. Amazing. Well done, everyone. You've gotten that far. Secondly, we've gotten our clone packs and we've gotten random battle packs and just multiples of different figures. Congratulations. I mean, technically you could army build an entire thing of classic spacemen, or maybe you want to build a bunch of slave layers, or one that's not quite as popular but Lego seems to want you to do it anyway, Farm Boy Luke's, and then you can move on, and finally we're going to stick them on the base plate and fake our way into having a giant clone army. Moving along, and I've got all of my 501st troopers, which, like I said, it was an accident. It's really easy to get sucked into buying these things. I mean, look at how many people bought the blue Fiat just because it was a cool color and exclusive to the UK. Now for these guys, we're going to mix it up slightly. We're going to do 2 side by side, the jet trooper on the side, and then on the end is where we're going to put the battle droids. That way we can bulk up our base plate a tiny bit and see how we've already bought just 2 sets in this and we filled up an entire row. It makes it look like we have some substance to our collection. It makes it look somewhat impressive, and honestly, you could put this in a dark corner at Brick Fair, Virginia, and people might come up to you. Maybe not. I think we need a second row for that to happen, but you could put it on a table. Just don't mistake the table for the trash. Now when adding your second row, it's important to leave a gap of 2 studs because again, you can't stack them too close to each other. I mean, you could really push it and go for 3 and I don't think many people would care. Then again, this is Lego Star Wars, people care a lot. And then because I have more 501st than I thought, I'm just gonna stick my 332nd Trooper behind the Jet Troopers and this miscellaneous 501st right there. And see how it looks like we have a good squad going. Honestly, I feel like 3 boxes of 501st is enough for you to have an army. With anything, I feel like 3 is fine. 2, maybe you just accidentally bought one. 3, you definitely intended to make these. 4, you're a tiny bit addicted, and more than that, you have a spending problem. So adjust your collection accordingly. And then because you can't afford an MTT, we're going to stick all of the battle droids on here as well. That way they don't feel left out and the clones actually have someone to fight other than younglings who really don't put up much of a fight, to be honest. So I got some more Snowtrooper battle packs. I've got 4 of them, all in this nice handy dandy brown box. Nothing screams clone builder quite like a brown handy dandy box. Check that out. We got 1, we've got 2, we've got 3, and we've got 4. Time to crack these open and add these to my base plate. Now I really feel like a proper army builder getting 4 sets at what? Just damn. I need to stop. So here is my completed clone and trooper armies. Wow. Starting off on the left-hand side, we have my 501st Army, complete with a grand total of 5 battle packs. Then next to that, we have 5 of the Jet Troopers straight from Battlefront 2. Don't these look great? Moving over to the Empire side, and we've got 6 boxes of Snowtrooper battle packs. And then right on the end is the Scout Trooper that comes along in that set. These guys look great. Then behind them, we have my 2 lone Stormtroopers, which is honestly quite a shame. I thought I was going to have the biggest army of these. This is the one that I always wanted an army of. Then next to them, we have 2 of my Bad Batch members because I haven't built the shuttle, and these are the only 2 that I've gotten out of the bag. Right behind my 501st troops, we've got some good old Phase 1 clones, but unfortunately, we've only got 8 of them despite buying 4 of the clone packs, considering there's only 2 in each set, and then I've got 4 of the clone troopers that also double as a pilot. Right at the back, we've got my favorite army of all, and that is my battle droids. I want to have a giant battle droid army one day. If they ever do another battle droid pack, I will be there day 1, army building. I'm excited. I love these guys so much. They're so ugly and so annoying. It's the best thing ever. I love battle droids. We also have these 2 specially painted battle droids from the AAT, as well as my 1 332nd Trooper. Honestly tempted to get another AAT, or at least buy another one, just so he's got a buddy. Like, I'd much rather 2 than just 1. He sort of just looks awkward there. Like, look how much better the Stormtroopers are having 2. Like, he's real on his own. But that is my giant clone army that's not actually that giant, but also sort of is, that I completely built accidentally and on a budget. So clone army building, I mean, it's a full-time job. It just takes up so much of your time and energy, obviously, to open all of these boxes and to put them all orderly onto a base plate, not to mention the amount of money that this costs. I mean, the fact that I'm trying to do this while also purchasing several other themes is a bit of a problem. That's why I'm not gonna buy that many, and I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna stop now before it gets too much, specifically when it comes to like these little clone trooper minifigure packs. The 501st, however, it's very hard to stop myself knowing the fact that that's a rare set in Australia, so already my value is like higher from that, but also the fact that I just feel like because it was such a big thing for the community, I wanna have an army of them. I can't explain it. I've got a weird sentimental attachment to the 501st that I cannot explain. And then the Snowtroopers, I mean, this one makes the most logical sense. However, honestly, my favorites are the battle droids. As stupid as that is and as cheap as they are, like, I just want tons of them. Aw, don't they look beautiful all together? So there you go. That is how to build a clone army. It doesn't matter what your budget is. I feel like you can do it. I mean, the bare minimum I would say for sort of an army would definitely be 2 or 3. I feel like if you're balling on a budget, 4 is probably the ideal number. I personally feel like that is the sort of the most substantial amount that you get, specifically with packs that have 4. Like I just look at my 501st and like I feel like this is perfectly fine. I feel like I don't need to open up my other 2 boxes, though I probably will, to be honest. But thank you all for joining today's class on how to build a clone army for dummies. Now just an FYI, because I do have to tell you, the bell did go 7 minutes ago, but remember, the bell doesn't dismiss you, I do, so you are dismissed. Enjoy your lunch break, and I'll see you later.